Sounds great.
Hello and welcome to Game Over Vancouver and Game Over Edmonton. I'm here with Kaja, who had her soul crushed at the end of the game there, and I apologize for that, but I have to say my favorite person in the world right now is Evan Bouchard. I'm sorry,
It
being on
was
the East Coast.
it was right before the Evan Bouchard goal, before I got the notification because my stream is of course delayed. So I'm sitting there and I'm like freaking out because like, oh my gosh, Brock Besser just tied the game. It's going to OT. And Andrew texts in our group chat, if it goes past one OT, I may have to tag out. Then like 30 seconds later, expletive.
Oh, sorry. It's my fault, but hey, you know what? Maybe I owed the Edmonton fans that one. Maybe after pissing them off over the last month. So we'll take that. We'll take that. Thank you to Evan Bouchard. But before we get too far into it, we got to tell you all where to find Game Over Edmonton next year. Game Over Edmonton is broadcasting from the Game Over Network channel for the playoffs, but come 2024 in October, we're relaunching with our own channel. So for all of your Edmonton Oilers news, analysis, and fun, make sure you open the Game Over Network channel from this video, scroll past my ugly mug, and head on down to the Game Over Edmonton channel from our featured channels area. Click subscribe and make sure you ring that reminder bell to make sure that you get notified whenever we post something or go live. Tell all your Oilers fan friends and family to come join our amazing community. You won't regret it. And on this video, smash that like button right into oblivion. All right, we're back. So obviously, this one is a tough watch for Vancouver fans because, I mean, I think we all expected the Oilers to come into this one with fire in their bellies and playing hard, facing the prospect of going down 3-1 on home ice after blowing the last one. But this was a tough sled for Vancouver. They had some good stretches here and there, and I think they were like their ability to create quick strike offense allowed them to keep themselves in the game. But it wasn't until pretty late where the Canucks kind of showed the quality of team that they are. The Oilers really dominated even strength tonight.
Yeah, a sentence that I didn't think would be heard throughout this series was the Oilers dominating during even strength. But yeah, overall, the Canucks just could not get it together. Usually they have the upper hand on everything except for special teams and I guess having, the best player in the world on your team. But usually they have the upper hand, and I will say they did have spectacular goaltending from Artur Shilovs, which we'll get into it later, but yeah, no blame towards him. And obviously the Oilers had their own situation that we will touch on later, but just overall it was a rough game to watch from a Canucks perspective. It was very rough.
Yeah, it was. And, like you said, we're going to talk about the goaltending coming up in a few minutes here. We want to save it because there was a lot to dig into there. But this game, I feel like a lot could be summed up by Leon Draisaitl, how dominant he was out there tonight. The first goal that Edmonton scored, it all started with Draisaitl doing something that I think he doesn't get a lot of credit for because everyone looks at him and looks at the points and he's like they're focused on the points, right? The one timer so great, his passing so excellent, but it came off of a little bit of a broken play and he just went in and got the puck off the wall. Just a loose puck recovery. Simple, but what he's able to do is take that puck off the wall and get it right back into the middle really, really quickly. And in doing so, created a whole shift of pressure, which ended up with I would say, a bit of a soft call on, I believe, like a high stick was called on Draisaitl on that play, and then he ends up getting the goal on the power play to open up the scoring. That whole ability of Draisaitl for an extended period, it was like two back-to-back shifts essentially, to exert his will over the Canucks, kind of exemplified the problem the Canucks were dealing with tonight.
Yeah, just the Canucks have been unable to shut him down. And even when it was like rumored that he was not going to be in game two, um, the Canucks still were unable to kind of corner him. And they've kind of learned with McDavid. Yes, he did get an assist tonight on the power play goal, but it's the Oilers power play. It's the Oilers power play. They're gonna Oilers power play it. But when it comes to Leon Draisaitl, they just have no call whatsoever on what he's gonna do. And they just basically let him run free because they can't contain him. Which is great considering that he's supposedly playing at like 75%. Um, and the Canucks mostly at 100% cannot do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean on the plus side, you can feel a little bit better about the fact that this seems to be every year in the playoffs where the Oilers make it past round one and they're like, Leon Draisaitl's dead. Like he doesn't even his heart exploded. And you think, okay, but he had 4 assists tonight. Yeah, but like he can't skate. His leg fell off. This is just like every year we hear Draisaitl playing through these ridiculous injuries, and he just piles on point after point after point. I've never seen, I don't think, anybody like him in the playoffs where he just finds a way to create these opportunities. And it's such an advantage that Edmonton had. And I know on that first goal, the broadcast actually did a good job pointing out what makes a goal like that possible. Because like as much as it is Draisaitl's finishing, not many players are gonna pull 3 out of 4 defenders out of like a tight penalty killing box into the middle like Connor McDavid when he cuts to the middle, right? So he creates so much space just by virtue of being Connor McDavid and everyone realizing they have to collapse towards him, that it opens up Draisaitl for those opportunities as well. And it's not like Draisaitl's not part of the goals, he is, but man, having McDavid out there, it does open up a lot of space for you.
Well, yeah, it's like you hang a shiny object in front of the Canucks penalty killers, and it's like, oh, that's the guy we have to target. Well, he's not just the one guy. It's there's multiple of them. You should be focusing on the entire power play, not just one dude. And before the game, there were comments about how the Canucks are trying to keep the Oilers from they're keeping them too close together in. Um, or no, they stop them from keeping from staying on the inside and they're pushing them to the outside. Whereas when McDavid cuts to the inside, they're all like, "Oh, we shouldn't have let this happen." So now they're trying to make up for that, where they still don't have their eyes on the peripherals, and that's where Draisaitl is, and that's where he scores from, and that's where so many goals have come from for the Canucks. It's just they're trying to completely box out the center of their zone, but anything besides that, just blinders on.
Yeah, it's tough, right? You have to make that decision whether you're going to run more of a passive unit or a more aggressive unit defensively, and there's not really a good option. I feel like the Oilers are one of those teams where you almost just have to play it situationally all the time, and you have to trust your defensive reads and trust your partners out there. It's the only really like the only way you can really defend against a unit as talented, even if it's just, McDavid, Bouchard, Draisaitl out there. The other two players are impactful, but you can kind of cycle through a bunch of different players and still be that incredible triumvirate that you have to defend, right? So I feel like there's no real system that works against that much talent. It really has to come down to individuals trusting each other and making reads on the fly. And that's just so much harder to execute defensively. So it's a tough thing, especially on the penalty kill. I guess probably a good thing that there weren't that many penalties called tonight, but it's tough to deal with that Oilers power play. And hey, I thought the Vancouver power play had some moments as well.
They had some moments, but yet again, they still can't convert. They had a whole 4 minutes that was a debatable penalty, to be fair. But you know what? Apparently, Vancouver whines too much about penalties, so I'm just gonna not mention that. Um, yeah, to cross-check to the face, it was not a high stick, but whatever. Yeah, having 4 minutes was just basically generating not there were some shots, not really a lot of like good chances in my opinion. It was just very lackluster. They looked like they were just dragging their feet out there. They looked like Ilya Mikheyev's scoring prowess was transferred to every single player on the roster, except for Archer She Loves. Like that kind of energy of like, we're trying 50%. That's what it felt like. And no disrespect to Ilya Mikheyev, but that's just how he's playing right now. Um, it was overall very bad game for the Canucks until like, yeah, 10 minutes of the third. They just looked completely tuned out of it.
How much do you think the suspension factored into everything? Obviously, Noel Juleson drew in today for the Canucks, was at least partially responsible for the second goal for the Oilers by going for the big hit on Matthias Ekholm, who took like what 4 or 5 really big hits in this game, and happened to take the big hit that got Ryan Nugent Hopkins in all alone, resisting the Ryan Nugent Hopkins need to pass across the ice to Connor McDavid, and he actually took a shot and scored. How much do you think that one moment, that suspension, factored into the game tonight?
I think it factored in quite a bit, personally, because like also when I think about it, it was yes, Zadorov got fined too, so that wasn't really that big of a deal, but there were also sort of bad blood. I feel like the Canucks should have had a bit more physicality coming into this game because there were a few big hits, like you said, the one that Juleson threw, but he wasn't playing in game three. There was a few on Canucks players. There wasn't really as much like the Canucks had 48 hits apparently, but they didn't really generate anything from that aside from yeah, they didn't generate anything aside from a goal against. So
Yeah.
with that, it doesn't really like I feel like there should have been a bit more energy there. I feel like the suspension does play into it a bit. Without the suspension, I have a feeling that Ian Cole would have been out of the lineup anyway. Um, so because Susie got taken out, because they had to put Cole higher up in the lineup, there's that bit of instability. The pairings are messed up. Zadorov's with Juleson, like that's a different adjustment. Um, they put Cole with Myers, which is just an insurance liability. And then the Hughes Hronek pairing, and I mean it's just basically Hughes because Hronek's invisible at this point. Or at this point for most of the season. So the Canucks decor just had nothing going for them whatsoever. And there were some other mismanaged moments. I feel like once Susie comes back, they won't have that same defensive these same defensive mess ups, but at the same time, they also needed to generate offensively, and they did nothing basically. They had 21 shots, and I said this before we went live, but um, like they had 15 shots before the first goal went in, and I don't know if they still thought that Stuart Skinner was in net. He wasn't. But you have to generate a bit more, at least quality chances against a goaltender who was, I will say, outplayed by our goaltender. It's just that the Canucks did nothing to support Shilov's, which is what they're used to doing for most for Demko for so many goalies in the past. So goalie graveyard strikes again.
Yeah, it was a tough one for Vancouver, unfortunately. I feel like it was still a pretty entertaining game, but you're right. The pressure wasn't high enough in order to force Pickard into a mistake. And frankly, as far as the hits go, I agree with you. I feel like those, if you're going to dominate a game in hits, it has to be, to me, in a way, it has to generate energy for your team, right? Like that, if you're going to do it, it has to be like a tone setting thing, not a going out to injure guys thing or just like going out there and finishing checks for the sake of finishing checks. It's about setting that physical tone and putting the energy into the building, and it works better on home ice. You know, you see the reaction, sorry, to the Kane hit late in the game there. That kind of stuff sells for the crowd and gets the energy in your feet as well. But Vancouver wasn't able to do that in this one. All right, we're going to talk about the goalies coming up next. But before we do, we got to tell you about a hated market for both of these teams. Where can you find Game Over Calgary next year?
Game Over Calgary is relaunching in October. For all your Game Over Calgary content, make sure you subscribe to our Calgary-specific YouTube channel. Open the Game Over Network YouTube page in a new tab from this video, scroll past Andrew talking, and click on the Game Over Calgary channel in our featured channel section. Click subscribe and make sure you hit the drop-down menu to get notified when we post videos or go live. Tell all your Flames fan friends and family to check it out and join our awesome community. And make sure you smash the like button on this video right into oblivion.
I was so confused about where I was going there. I could.
Okay, to be fair, there's a lot of markets that are hated.
This is true. This is true. But, Calgary, hated by Vancouver, hated by Edmonton. You got that good three-way rivalry there. So, thought that was a fun way to pitch it. All right. So, obviously, the story of Edmonton's thing tonight is, Pickard being the goalie instead of Stuart Skinner. Big bet from Chris Knobloch. Seemed to be the right play. Pickard was nervous at the beginning of the game, but settled in pretty well. I thought he had that good thing that really works in the playoffs, that battle attitude where you're just fighting through screens and loose pucks. I thought he had good fight in him, but more importantly, for me anyway, this game made me a fan of Artur Shilov's. I loved the way he managed the game tonight. I loved the way he played. I thought he was really entertaining to watch, like the energy he moved around with. If not for his performance, I think this game looks a lot uglier for Vancouver.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There was so many chances where if it had been literally any other goaltender on the earth, like prime, who's the most winningest again? Is it Brodeur or Waugh?
Brother.
Okay. I was a toddler when they were playing, so like it's gone. Like they're prime Brodeur. Like there were so many chances that would have gone in that she loves stopped. Some of the goals I feel like he could have had a little bit more control
The
over.
third one sucked.
The third one sucked because like half the team is standing in front of him.
Yeah.
Like it's like they're lining up for the UFA July 1st. Like they're in line, they're ready to go. And yeah, they get a goal against. I think, yeah, without Shilovs, the Canucks have absolutely no chance in this game. It would have been a reverse of whatever happened at the beginning of the season, the 8-1 game. If it was Casey DeSmith in net, it would have been even worse than that. The Canucks just completely gave up. Like the way they defend the 1-goal lead that they have in they've done in so many games. I mean, most of their games have been 1 goal. This game is a 1-goal game, for goodness sake. Like every single game. But when they have the lead, especially, I can just think of Tyler Myers blocking that last shot in the Nashville series. Like they're putting it all on the line, but only for like the last couple minutes or so. For the rest of the game, it's absolutely open season. It's a penalty kill. It's okay. You guys have your way. I mean, it would be tough to stop the Oilers power play, but literally at any point, they just let the Oilers go ahead, and yeah, they try and keep it to the outside, but nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
They're doing nothing. They're stopping nothing. And people are saying, "Oh, Ian Cole's a defensive defenseman. Noah Juulsen's defensive defenseman." Noah Juulsen, he tried his best. He tried to make the big hit, and it did cost them on the RNH goal. But it's just that's not the type of thing you should be doing. And then I don't know. It just felt like every shot they were doing was the Filip Hronek like slapper that goes nowhere. That just felt like it was every one of the Canucks' 19 other shots tonight that didn't go in the net.
Yeah, and we talk about how good Sheila was tonight. It's been that way for the last few. Like he's been really, really great. And over the last 3 games, the high danger chances have been heavily, heavily in favor of Edmonton at even strength. Or is this even strength? No, this is all situations. Sorry. So game 2, it was 16-6 for Edmonton. Game 3 was 18-9, which score effects are part of that because Vancouver kind of held the sway there. Or no, that was the comeback game, right? Game 3?
The comeback?
Yes, where Vancouver won.
That was game 1.
Oh, game 1. Sorry, I'm thinking of a different thing. Yeah, Vancouver was leading game 3, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So okay, I was right the first time. Score effects. But and then tonight the score or high danger chances were 12-5, which, part of the issue clearly is Vancouver's not generating a lot, and against Stu Skinner that was working, and Pickard held the fort well enough tonight in Vancouver's limited chances, but Shelovs has had to be not just good but brilliant, whereas Pickard only had to be good tonight, and I think, you know, switch the goalies, it's a different game, and unfortunately that's the way with hockey a lot of the time. But I'm just really impressed by how well this young goaltender who had very little experience coming into this series or this playoffs, because he played in the first series too, has played, and the poise shown tonight. I was really, really impressed, and I'm flat out a fan now.
Oh yeah, no, that's valid. Like I've been searching how to get a Latvian team jersey for the last like 3 weeks at this point. I mean, I've always been a She Loves fan, but that was more like, okay, I can't wait for him to back up Demko, and now I'm convinced they're the Williams Jennings 24-25 winners for the best tandem. Like that's written in my mind and no one can change my opinion on that. But um I think the Canucks, when they found out that Stuart Skinner was not in and they were putting Pickard in, I feel like they thought it would be easier to score. Because Stuart Skinner, that was their number one goalie, and now they're
Right.
putting in like their um like I guess he was their third string, but he was the backup for like half the season. Anyway, now they're putting in this guy who was beat by our AHL team last year. Like at the same time, you can't have that same justification. Also, you know who was one of the people who helped in that goal scoring that was not in the lineup tonight but is on the Canucks roster? Niels Höglander. He
Yes, why is he out of the lineup?
well, he hasn't really done anything, to be fair. And compared to, so they brought Linus Karlsson in for him. And Karlsson, he's out late in the game. Yes, he did take a penalty tonight, but the Canucks actually killed off an Edmonton Oilers power play, so kudos to them. But Karlsson, he plays in more situations, I think, because Höglander, he's very strong at even strength, but um during the regular season, but he hasn't really generated anything. And I don't know. I feel like it also doesn't help that he's on a line with Ilya Mikheyev and uh Elias Pettersson, who's also struggling right now. So yeah, but yeah, he was taken out for game 3 and then they won game 3. So
All right, we're gonna talk about Elias Pettersson going forward, and also the goalie situation in Edmonton and where the series is going from here. It's tied 2-2. Head back to Vancouver. Vancouver has retained home ice advantage through 4 games. And also, after our next segment, make sure you get your questions in for our press conference after our final segment. If you want to ask Kaja and I anything about this game, these teams, any teams, the NHL, life in general, hit us up. We'll do our very best to answer you in a fun way. All
ours
right,
too.
but we'll do our
Sorry.
best. No worries. But first, we're going to tell you where you can find Game Over Ottawa next season. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Smash the like button on this video too. Come on, we need your help. Game Over Ottawa is relaunching in October. So for all of your Ottawa Senators action, reaction, news, analysis, and fun, make sure that you click on the Game Over Network channel right now. Open a new tab in this video, scroll past my ugly mug, and click on the Game Over Ottawa channel. Subscribe, and then hit that drop-down menu. Make sure you hit the alarm bell so that you get notified whenever we post a video or go live. Tell all your Sens fans, friends, and family to check out our awesome community, and make sure you smash the like button on this video right into oblivion. All right, welcome back. All right, so I'm going to start with Vancouver this time because I've been starting pretty much every segment with Edmonton thoughts, trying to make sure that I rep Edmonton. But let's dig in on Vancouver first.
I mean, it's fine. Vancouver has no thoughts. Sorry.
It's all right. Vancouver has so many thoughts. I think Canucks Twitter is so powerful. Uh, but Elias Patterson, this is like one of the stories that I've been following closely this season because I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted the Canucks to fumble the bag and Patterson to end up in Montreal. That was my plan. It did
For
not work out.
what?
I don't know or care. Just make it happen. That's the kind of player you move things around for. But
Slavkovsky, Caulfield,
I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. But
whoever
either
that
way,
defenseman is that everyone talks about on Twitter.
Caden Gooley maybe
Oh
or
no, the
Reinbacher.
prospect one.
Oh, Reinbacher.
No, not him, the other one.
Oh, Hudson.
Yeah.
They have a lot of defensemen
I
in Montreal. Yeah, Elias Pettersson. What is it with the Canucks fan base? I know there's probably like a split, right? But it seems like it's very love-hate with Pettersson, and I understand the production's not there, but he's still been one of the top forwards for the Canucks in this series in terms of the underlying numbers. It hasn't been pretty in terms of the finishing, but is it just that he plays a style that's easy to hate on when the points aren't happening, or is it that the points aren't happening at an important time and people are frustrated because of the contract?
um I think uh I think it's a mix of both, to be fair. Like he does sign this big contract extension and he had a strong couple like he started the season pretty strong this year. Last year he got over 100 points. I think that I think he faces the criticisms. I feel like this is a dumb comparison because at least it's the second round, but I find it very similar to the criticism that like the Leafs core four get. Like
Mm,
they're they're paid all this big money and then the moment that they do something that is not really like that they don't really like, um it feels like they're doing something bad because of like that high cost. And I feel like fans also have to remember that they're not directly paying these players. Like you're not losing $12 million because Elias Pettersson couldn't score a goal tonight.
yeah.
At the same time, like I see the frustration, and yeah, a he has been pretty good for the Canucks. It could be worse. We could be the Oilers with like two guys doing the entire heavy lifting, but I think it's also because I don't know, dude's also never played a proper playoff series like in his career, like except for the Nashville games. Like yeah, he played in the bubble, but that was also A, 4 seasons ago, and B, in the bubble. Like this, it didn't have the same travel, it didn't have the same pressure, didn't have the same atmosphere. It was very different to what it is now, and I feel like that's also creating a factor. I mean, you could say the same thing about Quinn Hughes. Like he's captain, I understand, but like Tyler Myers had more ice time in game three than Quinn Hughes did, which is a weird thing to think about.
That seems like an
And
odd choice.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like Pedersen has had um he's had some good options, but I feel like it's his line that isn't clicking. Especially with Mikheyev. Like they used to click when Kuzmenko was there, but then that kind of tapered off when Tocchet came in, and now it's just not working whatsoever. Um that well, and obviously Kuzmenko is no longer a Canuck. And then coming into the series, Linus Karlsson has played okay with him. Niels Höglander is all right with him, but I just feel like they need to generate it a bit more. It was on the radio earlier today. It was like these players need to make the players on their wings better. Like JT Miller is the core center for his line, and that line of him and Bester and Suter is not shifting. Lindholm and Garland and Joshua not shifting. Like they're a dynamic trio now. Whereas Pedersen is just kind of Pedersen and two guys. and it never really works out. So I feel like that's also part of it. I don't know, maybe some of the downgrade this year was from injury because, there was that whole thing after Tyler Myers quite literally fell on top of him, um, like 4 games into the season. Um, yeah, Pettersson would he doesn't, it's not like the Canucks are desperate for him specifically to score. They need scoring across the team. And it's also not like they're in the same situation as the Oilers, where it's like, yeah, the same 3 guys are doing the entire heavy lifting and everyone else is just there. Whereas the Canucks have had scoring throughout the lineup. I just feel like with Pettersson, because he has that high cap hit, because he has that high talent that we've seen him, because he has all that like hype as like, yeah, he's not captain, but he's the face of the franchise because of that label that has been placed on him as like the savior of Vancouver for some reason. Um, that's why people are so quick to criticize. I mean, the same thing happened with JT Miller. Like he was abysmal to beginning of the 2022-23 season. And coincidentally, that was also after signed um they had signed him to that $56 million contract and
That's right.
basically made the decision that they were going with Miller instead of Captain Bo Horvat. Um, like I feel like that criticism is just always there, and it's Vancouver. They're gonna criticize like everything. Like they criticize people go on rants about the colors of the seats in the arena. Like that's how ridiculous this market is. Um, I feel like it's similar to the Toronto case though, where it's like, oh, you get paid this much money, but yet you can't produce in the playoffs. With Pettersson though, I'm not as worried because this is really his first playoff series, so I mean, do with that information what you will. Yes, it's a time to step up. At the same time, you need to adjust to stepping up. Yeah, it's getting later in the second round. Should you be worried? Sure. Are there other opportunities? Like both goals tonight came from third line wingers. Like that's because Dakota Joshua got credited with the second Canucks goal. So I don't know. I feel like it's somewhat of an issue, but it's not glaring.
Right, right. That's probably down to like team building as well, right? Because as you mentioned, Vancouver kind of scores by committee. Every line contributes. It's not a situation where Pettersson has to be the only guy, but you kind of want to see him step up and be the guy at some point in this series just to establish a little bit more control over it because it's tied, right? You
Yeah.
got to have somebody who can step up and look a little bit like McDavid and Draisaitl look tonight, but it's a tough situation if Pettersson doesn't have great chemistry with his line mates, if things aren't clicking very well, and you're not going to pull apart the other lines that are actually working. So that's kind of the team dynamics that you deal with in the playoffs, right? On the Edmonton side, obviously a big call tonight. We mentioned it. Not starting Stu Skinner. Calvin Pickard was good in his start tonight. I thought he made some pretty good saves, fought through some tough situations for the Canucks, but also wasn't challenged very well compared to usual for a playoff game, I would say. And I thought the Oilers did a pretty good job of collapsing around him when there was a loose puck out front. Like the Canucks didn't get many clean second chances. Everything was a fight in front of there. Puck being whacked instead of shot, we'll say. So that also helped Pickard. But what do you think, Kaja, on what Stu Skinner's future looks like? Because this is the second year in a row now, sorry, where he has a perfectly respectable to even good regular season. And the start of this season looked like he was going to have a disastrous season. And he ends up having a pretty decent one. And then come playoffs, it just seems like everything falls apart. Like there's a point where you have to wonder, is there something not clicking for him in these intense moments? I don't think it's all on him. I do think the Oilers do give up some pretty dangerous chances most nights. And the Canucks are good shooters. LA is a very underrated team that they face in the first round. But is Stu Skinner here in danger of actually losing his job more than just for right now, but going forward?
The thing is, I don't think so still, because the Oilers have their amazing goaltender core of, well, what was supposed to be Stuart Skinner and Jack Campbell, and Jack Campbell got pushed to Abbotsford. He was the or Abbotsford, Bakersfield. He was the
Right.
backup when I saw Bakersfield play in Abbotsford a few months ago, and he's getting 5 million until 2027. Stuart Skinner 2.6 until 2026. Um, like, I don't know if he loses his job outright unless the goalie market suddenly opens up and it's raining Sergei Bobrovskys. But there's really nothing. There's nothing they can do. And it's been a storyline basically, I think, since Connor McDavid came into the league, is the Oilers need to get better on defense and goaltending. And yeah, their defense is okay. It's pretty all right, except for, I mean, that one guy that decided to punch Dakota Joshua in the face after he had already taken a penalty. Um, we don't need to talk about him. Anyway,
That was Nurse, right?
yeah, it was Nurse, yeah.
Yeah, it's always Nurse.
It's it's always
I
Nurse.
watching Darnell Nurse, because like I love watching Edmonton because you get to watch McDavid and Draisaitl and Bouchard and all that, but especially in the playoffs, I swear to God, Darnell Nurse's strategy is like commit so many infractions, such a volume of infractions that he has dared the refs to call them. He's just so many slashes, so many hooks, so many cross checks, so many high sticks, so many roughs, so many hits from behind. And it's not like all incredibly violent stuff. It's just like little ticky tacky stuff that he's always doing, always the little late hit. And I know it's annoying for guys because guys get annoyed by the little taps behind the play and stuff like that. But I'm shocked he's not in the box more, and he takes a fair amount of penalties.
I feel like he's trying to not tempt, but like he's trying to test the waters a bit for like what the refs will call and what they won't.
Definitely.
The game management side of things, which I hate. Um, yeah, he's an odd duck, I'd say. I mean, 11.1% of their cap hit is his contract. So
Yeah.
whatever Canucks fans were complaining about OEL's contract for could be much worse. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying. No, I loved that because Dakota Joshua just did not react whatsoever, and he just kind of looked away like he was on The Office. Absolute gold. That man should be re-signed for $20 million. Yeah, Calvin Pickard, it's Calvin, right? I'm not losing
I
my
think
mind.
so. I know there's two Pickards. It's not Chet Pickard. I know there's a
It's
Chet Pickard.
Calvin. I
It's
can
got to be
read.
Calvin.
I can
Because
read.
Chet Pickard, I don't think is playing in the NHL anymore. But I think there was two, and they're both goalies.
Oh, fun. Um, that's like when I mentioned Campbell last name goaltender, and I had to explain directly to this person who like specifically which one it was, because there's so many Campbells in the NHL in professional hockey, and so many of them are goaltenders. Anyway, um, when it comes to, yeah, Pickard, I mean, yeah, I just, like I said before, I think the Canucks just thought that they could get away with a little bit more, and obviously they didn't. And like you said, with like the Oilers crowding around Pickard when the puck was nearby so that there was no rebounds, it's like they also got the memo that rebounds aren't his strong suit. And I feel like if they were to bring Casey DeSmith back into the series, which I would highly suggest that they do not do in whatever situation, I
Especially
would
after this game.
I would rather the Canucks play out of South Surrey Arena for the rest of their time as a franchise than have Casey DeSmith play in the series again, or at all. But when it comes to like Casey DeSmith, it was a similar situation where he's not the greatest at rebounds, so I feel like the Canucks should have clumped a bit more. But that was last series, and he's probably not going to play a minute for the Canucks again. So yeah, that
All
sounded
right.
really dark. He's a UFA.
Guy has promised. You will never see Casey DeSmith in Vancouver again.
Never.
Stick around. We're going to answer a couple questions from the chat. If you have a question, put it in now and find out where you can find Kaja, Sam, and Clay next year for Game Over Vancouver. Game Over Vancouver is broadcasting from the Game Over Network channel for the playoffs, but starting in October, the network launches for real, which means for all of your Vancouver Canucks content, you want to go check out the Game Over Vancouver channel. You can subscribe right now by opening up the Game Over Network channel from this video in a new tab. Scroll down past my ugly mug, click on the Game Over Vancouver YouTube page, then click subscribe and click that reminder bell as well so you don't miss when we post a video or go live. Tell all your Canucks fans, friends, and family to come join our awesome community. You really won't regret it. And for this video, make sure you smash that like button right into oblivion. We are back with Kaja's prophecy of the end of Casey DeSmith.
Okay.
We're not actually being that serious. Connor Cahill says Miller was abysmal as well tonight. His stupid penalty at the start that led to the first goal for the Oilers. Why, oh why do they keep doing this to themselves?
Can I just say, that was the penalty where you were questioning the validity of it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It looked a little soft to me.
I mean, why was Zach Hyman playing tonight? Why was he not also suspended for making Zadorov get stitches next
I
to
refrain
his
from
eyes?
comment on Zach Hyman.
Yeah,
I only say he's a goal-scoring machine.
Like, we're gonna find out his dad owns the Department of Player Safety soon. Like, I swear. But anyway, Zach Hyman is forbidden from this channel. But I personally think that should have been looked at more from the
probably.
Department of Player Safety. Consider, Zadorov is standing there. There's a scar beside his eye, or like stitches. He got stitches, and it's like right there. And when he was asked about like the Susie suspension, which I feel like Zach Hyman's cross-check had even more intent behind it too, because he was aiming for the head of Nikita Zadorov, which is quite a high reach. Whereas Susie was trying to hit the chest after, McDavid slashed him, but because Zadorov pushed him, it snowballed. Anyway, Zadorov had a good quote about it. He was saying that the league had to protect their investment, like Connor.
Of course.
And then when asked, why do you think that the call against Hyman, or the call where you got hit, wasn't looked at more closely? And he's like, I guess I don't make that much money for them, like for the league. Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
He's a quote machine, honestly.
He has been, like his whole career he's been a quote machine. I'm just fixing something because apparently Zoom decided to die in OBS and your picture's not there anymore. So
slay.
Yeah. Just trying to fix that, because we couldn't just end the stream nicely and go to bed and be happy about it. We gotta just have a technical issue happen to us in the last second here. And there we go. Now Kaja's back. A little bit off center, but it works. Fun stuff. Yeah, I really think Nikita Zadorov doesn't get enough credit for how good of a quote he puts out there. Like, the amount of media coverage that Nikita Zadorov generates for the player that Nikita Zadorov is pretty exceptional. And I also thought he had some good moments tonight, making his presence felt. He seemed to kind of get in the Oilers' heads at moments. He's a pretty good agitator.
Oh yeah, he's done that. He did that with Nashville. He did that in, I can't remember if it was game 1 or game 2, but he scores and immediately starts like after going through the fist bump line, he goes and he starts yapping at the Oilers bench. Like, he is an agitator. He is, if it wasn't for Archer Shelovs, he'd be the Conn Smythe winner for the Canucks, like, hands down. He's been like one of sometimes the only good things that the Canucks have done in some games, but he's We know so much more about Nathan MacKinnon because of Nikita Zadorov. Okay.
I love his bullying of Nathan MacKinnon as soon as he left Colorado. He's like, I'm going to tell everybody.
He there's nothing else to do at Edmonton. The biggest mall is not even like in Edmonton, though I've never been to Edmonton. But also, did you know it's the largest parking lot in North America? Anyway, yeah, Nikita Zadorov. Um he's definitely been the highest energy guy for the Canucks, and which is something to say when you have a lot of different guys who can generate a lot of different energies. Um, he is very much so there. He's trying to fight Tyler Myers, I feel, for the Chaos Draft title. But I feel like he needs a different nickname. We just haven't figured it out yet. So
Yeah, he can't have Big Z. I keep on seeing people do that. Like, you can't just take Chara's nickname and hand it to the next Zed guy. Come on.
that was Chara's nickname?
Yeah, he was the Big Zed or the Big
Oh.
Z for
Oh,
forever.
well, I mean, like, we can make it up that he handed it over to Zadorov because, like, Chara
There you
likes to
go.
make up that he saw people hand stuff over. Anyway,
You know, he does do that. You're right. That's a good point.
I'm so
Kai.
salty. I'm so
Well,
salty.
hey, you know what? Actually, I didn't even see the final of the Bruins, and they stayed
Florida
alive, eh?
lost.
Yeah, they stayed alive.
2-1.
That's annoying. Oh well. Hopefully, the Bruins can be out next game and assume their proper place of not being relevant. All right, that's all we have for. That's all we have for you tonight on Game Over Edmonton and Game Over Vancouver. We can't wait to talk to you again. I might be back for Game 6. We'll see. I think Kaja will not be able to make Game 6, but she will be here for Game 5 with Avery. Make sure you
Why are you
hit the
saying
like.
that?
What? Didn't you say you couldn't make Game 6?
When is Game 6?
Well, I don't think they've scheduled a time yet because they wait forever to actually do
Oh
that.
yeah, no, I can't. I'll be in another country. Yep,
That's
you're
what I
right.
thought. Okay.
I was like, what?
Kaja has been not allowed to do Game 6. No, yeah, Kaja won't be here for Game 6.
I've been suspended.
We'll make sure that we have the Vancouver perspective. Anyway, though, we'll make sure. Don't worry. We'll fill in for Kaja. But I will probably be back at some point in the playoffs. If I'm not, if this happens, thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate being here with Kaja. You guys have no idea how excited we are to bring this back fully next season. It's going to be really killer. So until then, we will see you there. Goodbye.